Welcome back. We are delighted to be with you
Oh,
now.
we are. Shri, and I am just, during the break, I was just sitting here smiling, thinking about how blessed we are to be on a planet where so many amazing beings, I love that the planet is finally catching up for those of us that have hung around to be here. And certainly our guest today, David Raphael, is one of those amazing beings that the planet has caught up to the work that he's been doing for so many years.
Well, and you touched on this earlier, David. One, it's timing. We often are given a vision. We're often given passion and energy that contributes toward a movement or an expansion of some sort, and yet the ripening of that at first seems like it's outside our reach. And then later, when it finally happens, we go, "Oh yeah," and
Right.
it feels to me that you're in many ways ahead of your time, and yet I sense the ripening is upon us. How do you feel about
Excellent.
that?
Well, that's what I say. People have always said, David, you're way ahead of your time, but since we're in no time now, we're right on time.
I love that. That
Time
is
has collapsed.
so true.
So
And
I
I
no
love
longer
that
think
we've
I'm
all
ahead of
hung in
time
there.
because there is no time. It's only now, right? NOW.
There is, and yet there is a momentum in place that has fractured consciousness, that has separated
Absolutely.
people from source, separated people from
That's it.
wholeness. And as you know from a holistic model, separation is the source of all pain. It's the source of all illness. And as we
You got
knit
it.
together those pieces, as we heal, which is
Hmm.
bringing love and light to
Right.
the disowned pieces.
Well, and one of them is, Shri, a lot of people always say how. And this is one of the things, David, that I love about what you're doing is that you have this 7 points, this 7 point platform that you're bringing forward. You're out there, you're productively bringing this forward. And so let's dive back into that.
Let's do this. I'd like to have this as like a little lesson for the show. If you're game to play, let's take point one and offer that in terms of action steps. Can you do that?
Absolutely. Okay, well, point one is Project Health. The strength of our nation is directly proportional to the health of our people. And again, this is educating. The first thing, since we're in a body, we can all understand that we can take steps to actually begin to revitalize ourselves and actualize real health. So
Hmm.
part of the understanding now is with the DNA changing, as you know, through the ascension
Right.
process. As we move from a carbon-based unit to a crystalline-based unit, we are no longer going to be subject to entropy. That's the shift that's actually happening. The Earth is in a fifth-dimensional world, and what's happening is our bodies are we're basically becoming more and more enlightened, youthful, and the major keys for people now: drink a lot of water, grounding to the earth, working with the breath, invoking the violence. I'm talking about on a spiritual level. It's all about
Absolutely.
It's all about taking the time to slow down. In light of the fact that we're very, very busy. I'm a big nature guy. Every time I go out into nature, I hug the redwood trees. I connect deeply with the ocean, the elementals, with nature. All the masters are saying, spend time in nature. Why? Because there's so much light, as you know, pouring onto the planet. We don't have to do anything except be open and receptive to the blessings through the sun, through the great central sun, through the cosmos. Because really, who's running the show anyway? This is coming from the Godhead. As I always say, the self is liberating itself. I came to a very, I'm talking more on a cosmic level. The Godhead is infinite love, infinite wisdom, infinite power. We are intricately one with that. We are that. So either it's a liberation program, or I always say it's a farce. What we're transmuting is limitation and fear. We're going from a fear-based world into a love, freedom-based world. And of course, as you say, that's part of the Aquarian age. And of course, the violet flame, as you know, is
Hmm.
one of the keys to transform personal and collective consciousness. And I'd like to kind of step forward because we're working all the time with groups. We network and network. There's a wonderful group called Children of the Sun. I'm sure you're aware of them, right?
Hmm.
Or not? Do you know Children of the Sun?
I don't know Children of the Sun. Do you, Shri?
I'm thinking of
Oh,
Alberto Villoldo, but that's not it.
no, this is a fantastic. We can talk about Project. They are working to inject into the Middle East. They're a very powerful group out of Florida. They're injecting as a collective what they call a love vaccine into the Middle East to transmute all the fear, violence, and the history there, to transmute that energy, and it's actually being sealed off to raise the consciousness of that area. But that's the kind of groups that we like to work with, because as you know, we're all working collectively now through the power of synergy. When two or more gather with pure intent, it's much more than two. We have the ability to, move mountains. We have the, ability to absolutely create fundamental shifts in consciousness.
Hang on a sec. Yeah, we had a little blip in the internet here, but I think we're okay. David, one of the things that I just wanted to summarize is what I heard you say is that we need to stop the habit of being distracted. We need to take action steps in our personal life, and that you offer nature as an example of a resource that will help us reconnect. And that is a simple, doable thing if we simply discipline ourselves enough to say, I'm stepping out of my habits and I'm going to add in this connection time.
Well, in addition to that, what I just heard David say also is, and this is something that we have been really, really working with people to grasp, is that we are now at the time of cooperation versus competition.
Beautiful, beautiful. Because
as you know, what's coming in is the divine feminine principle. And here's the paradox, because, we're in the wheel, fast, fast, fast. The divine feminine principle, my experience is, it's all about slowing down. And when we come into present time, then we can really access real power, because that's where power exists. Real power is in the present time. But if our minds are racing and we're always ahead of ourselves, we are not living in present time. I wrote an article, called "On Prophecy: The Future is Happening Now," and I stated, it's a quote from Revelations: "There shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away." This is from Revelations. What it really, my understanding is that what's happening is we're coming into present time, the past is dissolving, and we're moving forward. So that allows us to absolutely recreate, have a completely new creation that's not based on any of the miasmas, the fears that were built into the, what we call history. We can transcend history and create a completely new reality, which is what all the teachings are about now, correct?
Absolutely. And this is also the greater message of the 2012 expansion of consciousness. There was so much misinformation out there about 2012. And, living down here in Guatemala, it's just so fascinating to be living. I'm giggling and I'm smiling and I'm loving you as you're sharing everything, because, one of the reasons we live here is we literally live in the middle of a pristine forest. And we're dealing and living, 90% of our food comes out of our own ground. And so there is a blessing in that connection, and living with people that never lost that connection, living with the indigenous Maya. And so when the 2012 expansion opened, what you're describing is something that we see often through others, which is, if you're open, if your heart has opened and you're allowing yourself to slow down, reconnect, and be present, infuse yourself with light instead of death, meaning, eat things that are born of light. And if you are open to that opportunity, then you're going to swim in this fifth dimensional experience. And for those that are not, to recognize that their experience is to still be waiting in the third dimensional overlay, which is now more of an illusion than it ever has. And so this is why these principles are so important, and the action steps to go with them.
Well, absolutely. And I want to underscore something. Go ahead.
In a 3D political paradigm, they always say it's the economics, stupid, right? It's economics.
Right.
They always use that term. It's money. It's all about money, economics.
Well, it is all about money. You're right.
Fifth dimensional consciousness fifth dimensional politics, it's not about money. It's about consciousness, because in reality, consciousness is all that there is.
Exactly.
So that's the shift. It's really all about becoming more conscious, because as we become more conscious, as I say, as we, the people, become more unified, compassionate, peace-loving, and aware, our values, priorities, and choices naturally transform. We don't really have to tell anybody what to do, because once we're guided by the spirit within ourselves, the wisdom matrix within ourselves, we know exactly what constitutes, from a Buddhist perspective, right action. So it's about loving yourself, taking care of yourself, being very conscious of the day-to-day choices we're making. Be very careful of what you are buying into, and more importantly, be very careful what you're buying.
Yes,
Because
I just, my arms are around you. Yay, I'm clapping.
Right.
Yeah.
And while
so
you're
this
clapping,
process of spiritual awakening, as I say, it's an organic, decentralized, and progressive process which is leading us inexorably and an in-depth understanding of the vital importance of eco-stewardship, taking care of the earth. The Light Party is all about the politics of clean water, clean air, and organic food. That's the key to biological health.
So let's move on to number 2, because I'm loving this, and we're going to run out of time because these shows always go way so fast. So I love this first point. We've given some clean action steps. So that moves us to point number 2, which is?
What well, I don't have it in front. What is that, Project Light?
Right.
You've kind of blended your points together.
And that's cool.
No, I don't have it in front of me.
But
Project Light is a very important one because it says all the power that ever was or will be is here now. So what we're talking about is a fast track to what's called sustainable clean energy systems. Now, if you go to the Light Party site, this guy has done all the work for me. We have Project Light. This gentleman has put together 50, 60 of new energy technologies. Because what we have in the current world is fossil fuels, you have nuclear energy, and you have coal. These are all profoundly dirty systems, and we've developed a whole military to protect the oil fields. It's all about oil. And in reality, there are all these alternatives that are waiting in the wings that is going to liberate humanity from dependence on toxic energy bases. That is the key, because that will liberate humanity from, as long as we're tethered to a fossil fuel economy, that's what the world is. That's what's going on in the middle. That's what the source of wars are. It's all about oil. I joke, the 3D economic political paradigm, I joke and say it's all about God, G-O-D, guns, oil, and drugs.
That have become the god, along with money. The other thing that you mentioned earlier is the overlay is that money has become God for many of these beings. And
sometimes it takes a good fever in order to heal. And
it does.
And we see an economic system that has been teetering on the point of collapse for quite some time in all of the Western developed countries. And I sit here and I just kind of wonder, okay, when?
Right.
How long can they?
Well,
we have
economics is huge because it's what we're all thinking about is money, survival, paying rent, all the pressures of in quotes survival and making it in this world, which is materialistic based. Now there is we talk about practical things because the Light Party is very practical. Its work is extremely practical. There's a thing called the Tobin tax. Are you familiar with that?
The Tobin tax, no. Go ahead.
I mean, this is a brilliant idea. It's finally in Congress. It's a very small surcharge on currency trades. They do all these super fast trades,
Right.
Very, very fast. So this guy said, put a small tax, a surcharge on currency trades. It's called the Tobin tax. Finally, if it's 0.5%, Tobin tax would raise, in the United States of America, $350 billion a year. This is not something I'm confabulating. This is actually a fact. So that's a way to, we're really talking about how to redistribute wealth, how to redistribute energy, how to decentralize. The Light Party is all about decentralization of power. And the way we decentralize power ultimately is you and I and everybody else has to reconnect to source power.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Because if we don't trust ourselves, which is how these governments have taken over, it is because this sense of I'm not good enough, this sense of I can't trust my own decisions, this sense of I am not worthy has become manipulated and played upon by powers that are in your, as you call it, the medical military complex. And so absolutely, we need to have this inherent connection to be able to act from the greater consciousness or self-direct through a unified stream of consciousness. And I want to remind our listeners that right now, if you want to check in, go to lightparty.com, and really a wonderful, wonderful website. Again, it's just light, party.com. And, I'm looking at your model here and tell us about Project Peace. What's that?